Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you the easiest way to make a beanie. So you'll be needing some yarn. I'm using this acrylic yarn that I have, but you can also use some cotton yarn, whichever you have is fine. You also be needing a pair of scissors and a 4.5mm hook. You also need a yarn needle and some stitch markers. First things first, you start off by making a slip knot. We're going to start off making our chains, and for this project I'm doing a total number of 46 chains. So you just keep making your chains and counting them until you have 46 chains. At this point, you're going to skip the first two chains and begin your double crochets in the third chain. So you're going to count from the beginning 1, 2, and in the third chain you're going to start your double crochets. Now we're going to crochet a total number of 40 double crochets, and then you have 4 chains left, and I'll tell you what to do when you get there. Now when you get to the end, you're going to make 4 single crochets to end off the row. You're going to have 40 double crochets that you've already made and 4 chains left. Now in these 4 chains, we're going to do single crochets to end off the row. Now that I have gotten to the end of the row, you are going to chain 1 and turn your work. For the whole of this project, you are going to be working into the back loops only. Now even the single crochets you are going to be making are going to be in the back loops only. You make your 4 single crochets in the back loops and begin your double crochets. You're going to keep making double crochets till you get to the end of the row, and I'll tell you what to do. Now that we've gotten to the end of our third row, you can see that the end where you're doing your single crochets is a bit slimmer, and this is because this is the top part of the hat where you're going to be making a ring, so you want it to be less bulky, which is why we're making single crochets there. Now you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. Don't forget to keep working in the back loops with your double crochets until you get to the end where you make 4 single crochets. Now you're supposed to make 40 double crochets until you get to the point where you add your single crochets. If you don't want to keep counting 40 stitches, you can just add your stitch marker to the 4th stitch from the beginning so that you can know when to start your single crochets. The stitch markers are also helpful if you're working with really dark colors because it may be hard to see the stitches. Now you just keep doing your 40 double crochets till you get to that point. Now we're making our last double crochet before we begin our single crochets. Make your 4 single crochets and then you can turn your work and keep repeating this process. Always remember to put your stitch marker on the 4th stitch so you don't get confused at any point. This is our 5th row, and the number of rows you make depends on the size of the beanie you are making. If you don't know how to measure your head size, I'm going to be dropping a picture here to guide you on how to measure that. And then you also make sure that you're taking measurements as you go, or if you're making this for yourself, keep sizing it on your head until you make the total number of rows that is enough to go around your head. I would advise that you make the beanie maybe an inch less than your head size, just because it's very stretchy. And now I'm rounding up my last row here, which is my 30th row. I made a total number of 30 rows. At the end of your last row, we're going to chain 1 so we can turn our work and begin to close up. We're going to use single crochets to close off the beanie all the way to the end. In these single crochets, we're going to take the back loop of the first one and the front loop of the second row. So back loop, front loop to do the single crochets. Just watch closely. So this is the back loop, and then the front loop, you yarn over and then you do your single crochet. We're going to keep doing that till we get to the end of the rows. Now that we're done closing off the beanie, we're just going to weave in the loose ends of the yarn. You can choose to use your yarn needle to weave in the ends, and you can also use your crochet hook. Whichever is fine. I'm just more comfortable using my crochet hook. At this point, your work is neat, and we're just going to close off the top part of the beanie. You're going to take your yarn needle and pull some yarn through it, going to make sure that the two ends of the yarn that are in the needle are not the same length. This is to make sure that it goes smoothly. We're now going to put the needle with the yarn through the top part of the hat in a zigzag format, and when you put in the first stitch, you're going to make sure that you don't pull it all the way through, because you need some yarn left to tie it off at the end, and you just keep going in a zigzag way up until you get to the point you started. When you get to where you started, you want to make sure that you pull it very tight to close off this hole that is in the top part. So you pull it very tight and then you tie it off. At this point, you can just tie it properly and cut off the loose ends, and now you're done with your beanie. There's really nothing more to do. If this tutorial was helpful to you, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. You can also leave any questions you have in the comment section and I'll respond to them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.